All right, folks, so this exercise is a hip bridge exercise. So I'm going to show you this exercise on the ground. But before I get on the ground, I'm going to kind of show you the mechanics of the movement. So the hip bridge exercise is similar to any movement pattern where we're trying to target the back of the leg, the glute max and the hamstrings. Okay, so anytime we're trying to target those muscles, what we're really trying to do is limit knee movement and really focus on hip movement. Okay, so we're really extending the hips and then flexing the hips. Okay, so a hip bridge really is the most basic version of some of these more complicated movements like a one-leg RDL or even a deadlift. So a deadlift, if I'm standing up, just looks like this, or a Roman deadlift or something like that. So a hip bridge is the most basic version of these movement patterns. And the nice thing about the hip bridge is you can still load it up and you can do it in a really safe position. Okay, which it's really stable because it's on the ground. So I'm going to show you what that looks like here. Okay, so I'm going to have my weight already on the ground. I'm going to go to the ground and I'm going to set myself up sideways here so you can see what I look like. I'm going to scooch my weight close. Okay, that way when I go to get my weight, I can roll over to it, grab it nice and safe. I'm going to show you what it looks like without weight here. So I am in this position. I like to teach this exercise with my head on the ground. You can raise your head up a little bit, or you can have a pad back behind your head if you want, or a towel. So I'm going to stay here. I'm going to get my heels. I want to make sure my heels, my big toe, and my pinky toe are all into the ground. Okay, so nice, stable foot into the ground. So I'm going to get from here, maybe widen up my feet just a little bit. And from here, I'm just going to shoot my hips up. Really drive, squeeze, come back down, and back up. Okay? Now, what I can do obviously with the weight here is I can load it up. I'm using a kettlebell. You can use a dumbbell or a weight plate or a barbell, that's fine too. And so from here, drive it up, back down, there. Now, on the ground is the most stable version. It's great for people who really want to hit the posterior part of their leg in a really stable, safe environment, especially if you want to do a lot of weight. That's a great setup. Now, if you want to get a little bit more range of motion, using a bench is something that will allow you to get more range of motion with this movement pattern. Okay, but it's still really stable. It's basically still on the ground. So it's a great movement to move up from once you've mastered the setup on the ground. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make sure that I get the bench in the proper place on my back. You don't want it too far up between your shoulder blades, and you obviously don't want it too far down on your lower back. You want to find a nice, happy place in between because you're going to be tipping back and forth on this bench. You want to be able to get a lot of range of motion on your hips. So I like to use my elbows to really get myself kind of tested out there. Okay, so I think that's a good spot. And I'm going to do it unweighted to begin with. Down, up. And if I get my shoulder blades on there a little bit more, down, up. So I'm getting more range of motion. I'm getting more hip flexion here because the ground is not in the way. Right? And then from here, I can grab my kettlebell, I can or my weight plate or whatever, put it on my lap. Do it from there. Okay? So those are some variations on the hip bridge. Give it a shot.